Welcome to another podcast by EngineerIT, and today we're talking about AI and automation testing. And the big question is AI changing the face of automation testing in industry? If you think about it, incorporating automation testing throughout the development lifecycle is crucial for maintaining customer loyalty, enhancing credibility, improving return on investment. Unlike traditional quality assurance, which often provides feedback, late in the process, automation testing offers timely insights, allowing for early issue resolution and reducing costs associated with rework. Is AI mature enough to risk application in automation testing? And is it really ready for that process? And if it is, well, what process should we be following? So with us, we've got two panelists, and we have Nkgaphe from the CSIR, and we have Johan Steyn. I'm not quite sure how to introduce him. I always call him an AI expert, but I'm sure he will introduce himself. So, Johan, we start with you and tell us a bit about yourself before we go to Nkgaphe.
Hans, thank you once again for inviting me. I enjoy these conversations. I also look forward to see what Nkgaphe is going to share, to learn from him. This topic is of interest to me because I worked for about 8 or 9 years in quality assurance and testing with a number of global vendors and also for one of our banks. And this is quite some time ago. But the last few years, the focus has been on artificial intelligence consulting, strategy kind of work, a lot of public speaking and training and writing. My main focus is ethical AI, responsible AI for the future of our children. So I'm not an AI enthusiast. I call myself a human-centered AI advocate because it's about people in the midst of a rapidly advancing technology. But it's great to be, and thanks for inviting me, Hans.
And Nkgaphe, tell us about yourself.
Thank you very much, Hans. Well, myself, it's been most of been a student, so I am a graduate from the BSc in computer science and physics with my majors, and then I am again a graduate of honors in physics, computational physics, and then I have an MSc again in computational physics and another one in mathematical sciences, which just include the machine learning and artificial intelligence applications. So currently I am a PhD student, mostly focusing on the machine learning to perform some diagnostics of communicable diseases. And then I really appreciate this opportunity to talk about artificial intelligence on the platform.
Is AI changing the face of automation testing in industry, Johan?
Absolutely. Look, for many years, automation testing had to mature because and the question was, and it's similar to the question today about job displacements, do we still need manual testers? And for years, I thought absolutely, especially domain experts, business analysts, people who really know the business and what they're testing for. But then we are complemented by automation testing technologies and engineers to make sure that the rate at what we test, the accuracy increases significantly. And I think there's two aspects to your question, if I may, Hans. The one is using AI to test, but what about testing AI? Because more and more organizations are incorporating some sort of automation or really AI, conversational AI, generative AI these days. And more than ever, the quality of our code needs to be accurate because the power of this technology is incredible. We're dealing with biases that will probably never disappear from our systems, especially from a South African point of view. But I even 10 years ago, when I was working for a bank, we did a POC with one of the large global vendors. Just to give you an example before I end off with this answer, we had a massive program where, if I remember correctly, we had about 100,000 test cases. And this consulting firm ingested their platform to run through all of these test cases. And what we discovered was that about 60 or 70% of the test cases were either inaccurate, inefficient, or duplicates. And by taking out those test cases, the result of the POC was a 90% reduction in test effort with a 60% increase in test coverage. So I'm totally convinced, and this is now 9 years ago probably, I can only imagine where it is today. It can absolutely enhance how we test the quality of our software, and especially using AI to test AI systems, which I'm sure is something we're going to unpack during our conversation, Hans.
Yeah, thank you. That's an interesting few points that you have there. Johan, Nkgaphe, what is your view on this?
Well, thanks, Hans. My view on this is that AI, it drives the automation. That's the fact. So from what we do, it has been shown in many cases that the AI can perform the faster to, for example, to identify some errors if when you're doing some particular testing, and then it identifies as well the faster the causes. And then what we've been recently testing is that when we test with AI, it can suggest a fix, and then it can suggest how we can connect a set of related tests to just come up with maybe a faster progress or faster process of identifying the particular errors or the cause of something. So this not only makes the test to be automated or faster, but it can make the test to be precise. And then I can say the AI is particularly capable of automating a lot of test progress or the test processes in that particular case. And then when we run a particular test to identify, for example, some errors when we do the test and other relevant tests that we can combine together to, let's say we're performing a particular test at the same time, the AI has shown to be the perfect tool for doing that particular case. And this as well, it improves the quality of the test itself. So yeah, the AI for my case, it can enhance this automatic testing process.
One thing that I find very interesting is that when you look at some of the research, everybody talks about AI, and one can't help thinking, is it still a hype? Because most companies say, well, they are looking at AI, they're investigating AI, but the number of companies that they actually have implemented seem very few at this point in time, Johan.
Yeah, and it's what I find in our local market, because a lot of it has to do with budget. Our big banks, telcos, insurance companies are investing quite heavily into it. I think it's difficult for smaller businesses, although the cost is coming down. The problem I often see is that we're trying to fix problems with AI that AI was never made to fix. And these are often common sense problems. And I'll give you one example. I met with one of our large banks recently with their retail banking leadership team. And the whole meeting was going to be about AI, and the use cases in banking and retail banking are immense. I mean, there's so much we can do: personalized service, hyper-personalization, and the like. But the question I always have is, are we getting the basics right? And now I'm a customer of this particular bank, who's now my customer also. Mm-hmm. And the meeting started with them talking about all the great AI things they're doing, and I said that's great. And then it was a bit gutsy, Hans. I said, "Do you mind if I make a quick call?" And they said, "Okay." So I called this bank's contact center number, and I put my phone on speaker, and I said to them, "We can continue the meeting when you guys actually answer my call." And we waited 45 minutes for the bank to answer me. Obviously, the meeting didn't progress, but I think I made a point. And because AI is not just the be-all and end-all of everything, the best things in sliced bread. It's sometimes simple things that's the solutions we need, and we need to consume our own products, because that's what I asked these executives. I said, "When last did you call the contact center? When last did you speak to the chatbot? What's your experience?" Maybe just to end off, the end goal of automation and of AI is efficiencies and effectiveness. Now, we don't necessarily need automation or AI to achieve efficiencies and effectiveness. And I think we often have the conversation the wrong way around. as a business, or for me as a consultant, we start with it's AI, and then we look for those problems. I think we should look for those problems and consider whether we even need technology. Because if we don't use Excel properly, I don't even know why we should start using AI. So, yeah, but the adoption rate is increasing. I think we are seeing some successes, but I still find every day when I speak to my clients that the idea of what AI can do, the idea of its limitations, and what problems it can fix that it was never made to fix, like a toxic culture and people fearing for their jobs. Smart people, but the misunderstanding of what this tech is immense. So I'm not sure if I actually answered your question. I think just start with the basics and try and fix the problem and not think whether it's AI or not.
You mean we shouldn't create a problem so we can use AI?
Yeah, consultants will sell that to you because they want to sell the AI licensing and implementation. It's sometimes the fact that the printer is too far from the team using the printer. Just move it closer. That's not an AI solution. It's just common sense.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, thank you very much. Just to add on what Johan was saying about the AI, maybe the limitations of AI. So when you're considering the AI from a technical aspect, the AI is more like of an umbrella term. So what it does, it can include about 3 terms in it. It can include things like machine learning, deep learning, and then data sciences in it. And then all of those 3 fields, they suffer from data. Like if you want to implement a machine learning and then you don't have enough data, so that's where you reach the limitation. So from that, and then the artificial intelligence as well, it gets limited to a certain applications. So the most biggest limitation of artificial intelligence is amount of data available to process a particular task. So yes, we can create a problem, but if we don't have enough data to solve that particular problem, then AI will not give us what we are looking for in that particular space. So for us to really implement this AI, we need a large amount of data that can give us enough information to implement it. Because when you start training some AI models on a smaller data, what it does at the end of the day, it ends up guessing depending on which atlas we have given it. And then when it guesses, we are not getting what we are looking for. So to implement AI, we need to as well go to the background, like Johan has said. And then from that background, we look at what we have to solve a particular problem. Not that we give a problem without information. That particular way, we are not going to get what we are looking for that AI. So if we have enough information to solve a particular problem, yes, we can implement the AI, and then the automation, yes, can come in place. But if we don't, that's when we reach the limitation and AI cannot apply for that particular case.
I agree with you, but that raises the point again about data. And that is that perhaps the data that many companies have, that they want to use AI to solve a problem, is how can I say, it's not clean data. It's all over the place. And maybe we're putting the cart before the horse. Maybe we should be first looking at data and big data before we say, well, we want to now use AI in our activities. What do you think, man?
Yeah, from my perspective, that's true. That's true, Hans. We should be looking at the big data before we go for AI, because that's like our fundamental background where we have to start at. So when you go directly to the AI, we are not going to get the solution. Unless, if, for example, we create a synthetic data, we generate the data ourselves depending on which situation we want to solve. That particular way, then yes, we can implement the AI without maybe worrying about the big data, but we generate the data for ourselves.
Johan, you made a point about testing AI, because we now been talking about using AI in testing, but all right, so you developed a procedure or process where you use AI in testing. How do you validate that? How do you test that AI? Or should you?
No, you absolutely should, because just because you've built the algorithm and you set it free in the wild, you can't assume it's going to be accurate. And that's why you have to keep on consuming and testing it. If you think of what we call automated decisioning systems, and the banks are using it already, credit decisions. We even are seeing our healthcare industries worldwide making automated decisioning systems on diagnoses and hospital admittance. which is a bit scary for me. But is it doing it correctly? Because we as humans have created it, and even though it is much smarter in a lot of instances and quicker than us, it can still make mistakes. So keep on testing it. Give it different scenarios, because you probably never know what might creep out of that black box that you've not tested for yet. What's the answer it's going to give you? I just recently interacted with a chatbot from my internet service provider because my line was down. I work mostly from home, so that's almost as good as your tires are slashed when you go to the car in the morning. You can't go to the office. And they only have a WhatsApp chatbot. You can't call them. But I was tearing my hair out, and I think anyone listening who've dealt with a chatbot will probably agree to some extent. It didn't understand me. I mean, I was logged onto the app. It had all my contextual data, all my account data, my usage data, and it still wasn't able to understand what I was asking. So, and it brings me back to that consume your own product. Test it. Is it accurate? Is it fast enough? What are the different scenarios? If another great example, I think, again, is languages. If somebody with a very strong accent, here in South Africa, because we have so many different accents and ways of speaking, even if you speak English, but also we have nuances in our language that we use. Can it pick it up? Is it trained for it? Or did we just copy and paste a platform from Europe or from America? So, but the biggest thing for me is that the bias testing. And in other words, will the algorithm give an advantageous answer to a Caucasian male and not an African female, depending on who built it? And that's why we see so much coming from Silicon Valley is often so biased. We need a multicultural, multi-ethnicity, and obviously multi-gender team, core team, ones that build these products. We also need multidisciplinary HR, organizational design people, legal need to be involved. And I'll maybe end off with this one as an example. If a bank asks me to build an algorithm to look for family units, potential family units in their database of clients, it's maybe 600,000 clients, because they want to sell educational financing products. The way I will build it will be based on my worldview, because as humans, we create in our own image. My view of a family is that it's a man and a woman, possibly with a child or children. And it's not wrong, but it's limited. That's why a colleague needs to tell me, Johan, but what about same-sex couples? What about single parents? What about parents who can't or don't want to have children? And there could be many iterations to that example. So I don't mean it badly, but it's my worldview. And that's why once we now, as a multidisciplinary team, build that platform, keep on testing it, give it scenarios. What if it's somebody from the wrong side of the tracks, somebody from the wrong side of the country? If it's a gender, because there's so much we've built in this. So because it's such powerful technology, we should, even more than ever before, test this over and over again, Hans. And we can use AI to test AI, as long as we just do it with common sense and smartly.
Nkgaphe, you smiling. What do you think?
Yeah, and I was thinking of the points that Johan is making about maybe about the language AI can detect. One of the most important points about AI is it becomes as good as the quality of the data you put in. Yeah. So in terms of language, AI get assistance from a different part of science. Like in terms of language, for example, we'll be talking about things like natural language processing. So which is another external field that we have to bring in to help AI to identify that particular language. So what Johan has just said now is true, because say, for example, you want to use a different accents on AI, it particularly doesn't get what you are saying. Simply because it's how you train it with the natural language processing. It's just taking a simple English. What it does, it runs through the conversion. The conversion reads the word by word, combine it into English, and then it makes it the processing data to train it. So when you come saying with the different accents, the system just can't get what you are saying. So there's a need for a lot of research around this that needs to be done. For example, maybe we can come up with a natural language processing program that can maybe imitate our accent maybe as Africans for like that. But if we can do that, then we put all of the data at the same time, we keep on retraining it on adding more particular data set, we can be able to survive that. Or another way, we can use AI itself to generate this particular data. Because nowadays we can use AI to read in some language, but we can use AI again to train itself to get in there. But I haven't seen anyone doing that. It's just an idea that comes in my mind recently. So
I think you're quite right. Johan, you said something about chatbots, and I had an experience similar to yours, that they only on the website offer the chatbot to speak to. So I posed my question or my problem, and obviously the machine said, I don't understand. And then the second time I changed sort of the way I asked it, and she says, or he, I don't understand. And then she said, well, obviously we're not understanding each other. I'll put you back to a human. Now, to me, that impressed me, because they didn't pursue all that. And that, yeah, that comes back to that question that AI is early days. And I think it won't solve the world's problems today.
You're so right, Hans. And you know what? I think low-level transactional things, I'm happy to talk to a chatbot. So, for instance, can I increase my overdraft? To what level? The chatbot should be able to answer that, as an example. Or by what day will I receive my new debit card? But when it comes to problem solving, we need a human, because remember, I sometimes struggle to explain the symptoms of my problem. Like with the internet service provider example I gave, the symptom was my internet was down. I couldn't explain whether it was the router or the exchange in the area or something. So the chatbot wanted that detail, but I couldn't give it. You know, so there's definitely, if we can alleviate those repetitive kind of calls in a call center, which is probably in some instances 80-90% of the calls, let the chatbot do it. But when we really need that empathy and understanding and experience, let a human do it. But can I just, on what you've just said, because chatbots, a lot are trained like that, there's a certain level where it realizes it's not understanding, it transfers you to a human. But you know where I want to jump off the balcony is after an hour of chatting to that chatbot, and the human answers with the words, how can I help you? I'm thinking, I've just spent an hour explaining my problem. Now I need to start all over again. So why does all that conversational data analysis not pull through to that person's screen to help me? So we are still, I think, especially from a customer service point of view, not even scratching the surface what this tech can do. We're getting the most elementary things wrong. And that's why sometimes I hate it. I just go to my bank branch. I don't want to chat to the chatbot. I don't want to commit suicide for no reason at all.
I feel the same way. But to the credit of the company example that I gave you, where she said, I'll put you through to a human, when the human came online, he called me by my name and he repeated what I'd asked.
That's amazing.
And to me, that was, yeah. But the problem is that company decided to stop offering, they call it video conferencing services. They found that it was not really there, but they were superb compared to all the others that I'm using now. And this wasn't a very big company. But anyway, so the big question is, if AI is, say, ready for something I want to do, but as a company, Nkgaphe, how would I go about it? What are the basics I need to do if I want to start implementing AI in some process in my company?
With the AI, the basics that you need to do first, you need to know what you have to carry out that particular product. So that's when we can start training the AI. So we can do what you call the transfer learning, like you get some model, train somewhere to implement into your company. That has proven in many cases to be a failure. The reason is that it gets trained, like the progress we make with AI, Right now we are surviving in what I can call a binary classification, for example, with what we provide for the machine learning to be trained or for the artificial intelligence model. So what happens is, for example, with one of the example Johan was giving, if you were to give a set of string to AI as a question, so what happens is it's just going to go through the string and identify some of the common ways that they've been trained on it and then give that answer as it has been provided. The reality is we are not at a stage where it can think on its own. So when you want to do that to a company, you need to know exactly what you are doing. And then the AI should perform exactly that task. That one we are going to make a progress. But if you come up with a new thing and then you expect it to suggest a new thing, that's where we are going to run into problems. But if you know maybe you are producing A, B, C products, you maybe train it on that particular thing. That work is straightforward. It gets as much information as it is. It's going to be a success. But when you want to introduce a new thing, that's when you're going to experience a lot of problems. So yeah, so if you want to implement that in your company, just know what you're doing and stick to it. Do not expect it to extend to a new products or extend your products in a different way. That would be my take for it.
The one thing that always bothers me, that the people that are actually briefing the chatbot, if I can call it that way, they should understand from a customer's point of view what the questions be, not from the IT point of view. And I think that's where we fail. Johan?
Absolutely, Hans. And again, back to consuming your own product and test it with a subset of your customers who are willing, different age groups, again, ethnicities, etc., dialects, because we don't always know how to frame our questions to the chatbot. It'll give us options, so maybe the first interaction is 10 options. Is it billing? Is it service? Is it delivery? And then that starts helping already. But if it's kind of free talking or free typing, and I just use my natural language to explain my problem, most of us, it's difficult if you don't know what the problem is. What companies should then do is those, call it failed conversations, especially those ones where it was transferred to the human, is to take that data and look at the scenario and try and retrain the algorithm for, especially if a large percentage of your client base are struggling with the same specific issue, to explain it and for the AI to understand it. But I want to give you, again, another common sense example on this. I was dealing with a large customer who, their inbound call center receives 500,000 calls a month. Local company. It's massive. And I'm just trying to think what I can say so that people know what it is. So I'll be careful. But it's they asked me if they can automate the contact center or aspects of it, and of course you can. Again, that first level of questions and answers, whether it's conversational AI or a chatbot, just to determine whether you can help the client. That technology is out there. And when I sat down with him that day, I asked them, why are you receiving so many calls? And I was amazed that no one had thought through that yet. Their only thinking was, how can we automate all these calls? And after investigating it, we realized that when a client signs on with them and they receive through the post or through email that welcome message that gives them the instructions on how to interact with them, that the messaging was very unclear. And then we realized that about 80% of the inbound calls were from new clients who were not sure how to interact with them. So the answer was, change the messaging. Don't use AI. Later on use it. But people are phoning you because your communication is crappy. I sometimes, Hans, I think, look, I'm almost never the smartest guy in the room, especially when I meet with clients. But I am stupid enough sometimes just to figure out that it's such a simple solution. It's not even AI. So I think that's, again, back to the question you have to answer is, if people say we want to use AI, the question is to do what? In the meetings I have with new clients, that's when it becomes a bit weird, because they've been mandated to use it. They went to a conference. They're very excited about ChatGPT. But the why is the actual starting point, or the what really and the why, not the how we're going to use it. It's strange, Hans. I'm at a point where I'm actually more and more dissuading clients from using AI because they're so far from ready for it. And again, the data thing that you mentioned before, it's not a silver bullet. And this is smart people thinking it. I'm astounded by it.
What do you think, Nkgaphe?
Well, I'm at a point where I can say I'm mostly using this software from WhatsApp, for example, just to communicate with whoever is texting me, and I need this AI, and I'm responsible for just training it on what to say when people respond. So what I realize is you possibly write on what is expected from a human point of view to as an input, and then the possible responses, and then the one that gets the highest probability of maybe checking how many words are there in a sentence that has been put. That's the answer that comes out of that. So I wouldn't call that a process of thinking as human do. It's just a process of searching the highest probability that we can give as an answer. So in a banking environment, I don't think that would be a necessary scenario where you just check the probability. Maybe the person is asking the question that gets a lower probability, and that's not what is returned as an answer to that. So for that particular of training, remember, on my perspective, the goal of this AI is just to get a human, an artificial human in a way. How a human works, it should work in a machine. And I really don't think as women we understand how that process goes, because there we say we are not necessarily training, we are saying looking for something that is there. If it's not there, that's when you get an answer like, I don't understand, maybe consult a human. It's because what you're looking for is not there. Maybe someone who was training that was not thinking for that particular case. That's why it says maybe consult a human. Consult a human is, for example, looking at some like a case control statement, if else. If what we are looking for is not there in the database, then we consider in the else statement. The else statement, then it refers you back to the human. That's how this process works. And then I cannot say you can fully move towards particularly in a banking environment. It can end up transferring your money into my account at some point. So, yeah.
Well, guys, thank you very much for your time. We've come to as always with these discussions, we're running out of time. But it really was interesting because we've gone from one point right to right around the world almost in terms of AI, and this shows you that there are lots of opportunities, but it's going to take time, and we're not perhaps as ready for AI as what people are trying to tell us. So, to end today's discussion, some final remarks from you, Johan, and then also from you and Nkgaphe.
Hans, thank you. Firstly, Nkgaphe, there's a lot you said that makes sense, and that I made little secret notes because I want to go read up on it, and that's why I love these conversations, to learn from people like you and from Hans. I think, Hans, let's just keep our common sense, fix the right problems with first off discovering what the problems are before we start thinking about the solution and the technology. AI is increasingly becoming powerful. It can be scary, but it can help us incredibly. So we should look into it as business people. But let's just fix the right problems in the right way. And maybe as a concluding remark on our topic, for many years, in my experience, testers were seen as almost like second-hand citizens. They were not smart enough to become developers, so now they started testing. That was the kind of vibe. The role of testing software, especially in the age of AI, is hopefully more and more becoming one of the best careers you can have. So I see a lot of a future for software quality engineers and testers in the age of AI to make sure we do it right. And it's exciting, especially for those who have for years and years tested and nobody really saw their worth, because they are smart, experienced people, and hopefully AI will make them shine as they should.
From my perspective, the AI, yes, it's good in automating a particular task, maybe when doing the testing. But I always have this an idea of myself: how about we make AI to test us, and how about we test the AI, and then we see who makes a who comes up maybe with an efficient solution towards that. So the solution would be we get the AI to create the problems that we can solve, and then we create the problems that AI can solve. Whoever solves first, it means that that's the best way approach. And if AI can come up with problems that we humans can solve, or no matter how many times or how long do we take to solve those particular problems, I believe that would be the solution at which we can implement in the machine to solve this particular problem that we have. So we can implement it almost everywhere, even with the testing and all of the processes that we want to implement that AI into. I think that would be a good approach from my perspective.
Nkgaphe, Johan, thank you very much for your time today and the interesting input you made to our discussion. It's just a fascinating subject, and I'm sure in not too long from now we will be talking about it again, because aspects will just keep changing and our views will keep changing. Once again, thank you very much.